Episode 5, Those We Love. April 16th, 2014, Japan, Tokyo. Stone Courtyard. 6-year-old Ryu clutches onto his mother's hand as she leads him out of their new house onto the porch overlooking a beautiful stone courtyard. In the center of the courtyard stands an elegant cherry blossom tree. Ryu releases his mother's hand to jump off the porch. As he looks up, Ryu locks eyes with a girl his age standing across from him in the courtyard. Her wavy brown hair is pulled up into a ponytail on the top of her head. She tilts her head, curiously, as she studies Ryu with dark brown eyes.
Hello, Mr. and Mrs. Nakano?
Ryu's mother moves past him and approaches the young girl and her parents standing behind her.
Please, call us Mana and Shiro. It's nice to finally meet you.
Welcome to the neighborhood, Mrs. Hamasaki.
Well, thank you, and please, call me Yori. It's wonderful to finally meet you both. I was particularly excited when I found out you have a daughter the same age as my son. Ryu, honey, come over here and meet our new neighbors.
Young Ryu dashes forward and stands next to his mother. He blinks a few times as he studies the girl in front of him.
This is Ryu.
Nice to meet you, Ryu.
This is our daughter, Katsumi.
Greetings, Katsumi. Why don't you say hello, Ryu?
Katsumi? Seems kinda long.
I happen to like my name. Maybe your name is just too short.
No, that's not it. I know. How about just Cat?
You want me to change my name?
No, silly. You'll just be Cat to me and no one else.
I suppose that'll be okay.
So, Cat, I've got a question for you.
Really? What's that?
Do you like adventures?
Well, of course. I'm not crazy.
Yep, she'll do.
She'll do for what, sweetheart?
For a best friend.
Oh, I see.
The adults look at one another and laugh. Ryu looks back over at Katsumi.
Don't I have a say in this?
Well, it's a simple decision, really. Who wouldn't want to be best friends with me?
Ask me nicely.
Dropping his mouth, Ryu looks up at his mom, who gives a tilt of her head as if to say, "Go on." Sighing, Ryu turns back to Katsumi.
Fine. Cat, will you be my best friend?
Katsumi raises an eyebrow.
Please?
Okay.
Alright. I guess from this day on, you're my best friend, Cat.
Best friends for life.
January 7th, 2026. Gun Gale, Temple Ruins. Wide-eyed and breathless, Ryu stares helplessly at Katsumi as Ayame holds a gun to her head.
Cat.
Katsumi's whole body trembles with fatigue. Her breath is shallow and uneven. Daichi comes up beside Ryu.
She's been logged in for far too long. She's almost at her limit.
If Katsumi dies in game, she'll automatically be logged out. Should be okay then, right?
Shall I just kill her then? Though, I figured you wouldn't want to watch her die. Or maybe you'd like the honor of pulling the trigger, since you're already a killer.
Just leave him alone.
You would defend a murderer like him?
You're wrong about him.
Oh, and what part am I wrong about? The part where he slaughtered my little brother and 3 other innocent players?
Ayame, listen to me. I didn't mean to hurt anyone. I was being
By the
controlled-
dragon heart blade, I know. I heard your whole sob story to my parents that day you visited our house. Every word. And yet, I'm not as forgiving as my parents were. They weren't there. They weren't in SAO. They didn't fully comprehend the horrors you had done.
You were in SAO.
Kenji and I stuck together for the 2 years. But we got separated the last day of SAO. The game ended before I had a chance to find him. Just imagine my shock after waking up from the game, only to find that Kenji would never wake up again. Thanks to you.
Ayame, what happened to your brother is horrible, but Ryu isn't to blame. He didn't mean for any of it to happen.
You're one to talk. You should be on my side, Daichi. Especially after what he did to you and your family.
What is she talking about?
After seeing you with Ryu last time, I did some digging on you. Would you care to tell him, or shall I?
Ryu, I never told you my full name. I'm Daichi Miyamoto. Katsumi's older brother.
Ryu's eyes expand slowly as he absorbs what Daichi said.
Katsumi's brother. But why? Why did you help me? I'm the reason Izumi's dead.
Trust me, I never intended to befriend the person responsible for my sister's death. When I found out who you are, I couldn't believe it.
You acted nothing like how I pictured a murderer to be, but then I quickly realized that's because you're not a murderer, Ryu. Not really. All of those killings, that wasn't you. I've gotten to witness your good heart firsthand.
Daichi.
I don't blame you, Ryu. SAO is the reason my sister's dead, not you.
You can't be serious. All of this, everything is his fault.
Ryu and Daichi turn back to Ayame, who looks as though she's about to blow her top. Katsumi is barely able to keep her head up from exhaustion. She struggles to keep her eyes open.
Please, Ayame, do whatever you want to me, but just let Kat go. She'll die if you don't stop this madness. Please, think of Kenshi. He wouldn't have
Shut up! Don't you dare say his name. I'm going to make you suffer as deeply and as painfully as I have by taking away your precious cat.
Before Ryu has a chance to respond, Ayame shoots Katsumi point blank in the head. Ryu's heart stops. The shot echoes throughout the empty ruins. Time seems to stand still as Katsumi's face emanates utter pain and shock. Ryu's heart feels as though it's been ripped out of his chest and shredded apart. Slowly, Katsumi falls sideways to the stone ground.
Cat!
Just as Ryu reaches her, Katsumi's body bursts into countless pieces of light that vanish instantly. Ryu collapses on the ground where she was.
Cat!
I'm surprised you're not happy that I killed her. It's what you wanted after all. Now she's logged out and won't die. Oh, wait. Yes, she will. I told you I would make you suffer as I have suffered.
Ayame holsters her gun and quickly logs out of GGO.
No!
Ryu crashes to the ground as Ayame's avatar disappears. Breathing hard, Ryu stands with frantic eyes.
She's going to kill Kat in the real world.
You have to log out and find her, Ryu.
Daichi.
There's no time. We'll talk later in real life. Right now, you have to go.
Right.
With trembling hands, Ryu pulls out his menu and logs out. January 7th, 2026, Japan, Tokyo, Ryu's house. As soon as he opens his eyes in his room, Ryu sits up and rips off his atmosphere from his head. Stumbling off of his bed, Ryu frantically pulls his shoes on and bolts for the door. As he dashes through the dark kitchen, he glances over at the time on the oven.
3 a.m. Mom will be in bed. If only she had a car I could take.
Ryu bursts out of his house and looks over at Katsumi's darkened house.
Maybe I could take the Nakano's car. No, there's no time to explain.
Without another thought, Ryu turns and sprints down the deserted street at top speed.
Have to get to Shibuya.
Running as fast as he can, Ryu races through the chilly night air. By the time he reaches the subway station, he's panting hard and drenched in sweat. As Ryu approaches the ticket terminal, he panics as he searches through his empty pockets.
Oh, I don't have any money on me.
Glancing around at the empty station, Ryu suddenly runs and leaps over the gate to the subway. Seeing the door starting to close on the subway car, he breaks into a sprint, barely makes it in time. With the door shutting behind him, Ryu collapses on the ground, gasping for air. Thankfully, no one is in the car to see this. He doesn't have much time to catch his breath as the doors open a few minutes later at the Shibuya station. Forcing himself to stand, Ryu starts running again as he quickly exits the station. Despite being exhausted, Ryu pushes himself to run at full speed down the street.
I have to hurry. Ayame's going to kill her. She's going to kill Kat.
Ryu's heart beats wildly in his chest as sweat slides down his temples and neck. Finally, Ryu sees the darkened Kobayashi house up ahead.
There's no way Ayame would have Kat in their house. But maybe they have a cellar or a shed or something.
Still sprinting, Ryu moves to the back of the house and sees a small shed with the light on. Bursting through the door of the shed, Ryu freezes when he sees Ayame standing over Katsumi, who is tied to a wooden chair with a gag in her mouth. Katsumi's whole body trembles with fatigue and fear. Ayame clutches a gun in her hand and holds it up to Katsumi's head. As soon as she sees Ryu panting in the doorway, Ryu locks eyes with Katsumi.
I'm not too late. I can still save Kat. I just have to convince Ayame to let her go.
Ryu takes a deep breath, trying to slow his pounding heart in his chest. He glances over at Ayame, who appears much less put together than she did in ALO and GGO. Strands of her unruly black hair hang loose around her face as she stares at Ryu with crazed blue eyes.
Looks like the knight in shining armor has finally arrived. Too bad there's nothing you can do to stop me.
Ayame, this isn't GGO. This is real life.
Oh, I'm well aware. Which means when I shoot your little girlfriend here, she'll die for real.
Ayame, listen to me. Killing Katsumi won't bring Kenji back.
No, it won't. But it will inflict upon you the same agony I've had to endure this past year. Everyone else, my family and friends, they've all moved on and forgotten about Kenji. But I can't. He didn't deserve to die.
No, he didn't. None of the players in SAO deserve to die. Akihiko Kayaba had one twisted dream.
I don't blame Kayaba, I blame you! You're the one who stabbed Kenji through the heart!
As Ryu looks up at Ayame, his eyes grow wide when he sees Kenji standing beside her, with a mournful expression on his face.
Yes, I did. And that's something I have to live with for the rest of my life. I don't think I'll ever forget Kenji, nor do I want to. The fallen should never be forgotten.
Ryu watches as Kenji places his hand on Ayame's shoulder and smiles at her.
You two look so alike. You and him.
What?
Both of you have the same deep blue eyes.
What are you saying? That doesn't have anything to do with this.
It has everything to do with this. Kenji should never be forgotten.
Exactly, which is why I'm going to take my revenge on his killer by making you suffer.
Stunned, Kenji takes a step back from Ayame.
Revenge is no way to honor the dead, Ayame. Kenji wouldn't have wanted this.
How do you know what Kenji would have wanted? You didn't even know him.
You're right. I didn't.
As Ryu looks up, he sees Kenji stare back at him with inquisitive blue eyes.
What was he like?
What?
What was Kenji like? Was he an introvert or an extrovert? What was his favorite subject in school? Did he even like school?
Stop.
Or were video games more his thing? How did he even get into video games in the first place?
Stop! Stop it!
Katsumi turns so she and Ryu are both staring at Ayame. Slowly, Ayame backs away from Katsumi. She looks down at the gun in her trembling hands.
Ayame.
No, stop! You don't get it. I was the one who introduced Kenji to VR MMORPGs. I'm the one who urged him to join SAO with me. I'm the reason he's gone. He'd still be here if I hadn't encouraged him to play. It's my fault. I got my little brother killed.
Ryu's image of Kenji moves to stand behind Ayame, who looks up at Ryu with tears streaming down her face.
I thought that if I put all of the blame on you, that I would forget my own shame, and that by hurting the person closest to you, I'd forget my own suffering. But I was wrong.
Just then, Ayame tosses her gun several feet away and fully collapses on the ground.
I'll never be free of this agony.
Silently, Ryu watches Kenji kneel down by his sister and place a hand on her back. Slowly, Ryu moves to Katsumi and gently squeezes her shoulder. She turns to him and nods. Carefully, Ryu kneels down in front of Ayame.
You may not have known your brother, but something tells me he would have wanted you to forgive yourself. He'd want you to enjoy life, Ayame. It's as your parents told me. Live in honor of him.
Still looking down, Ayame continues to cry.
Get out. I said get out. Get out and leave me be. You've already hurt me enough.
All right. We'll go.
Hurriedly but carefully, Ryu unties Katsumi's bonds and removes her gag.
How are you?
Glancing over at Ayame, Ryu gently scoops Katsumi up in his arms. Ryu starts to say something to Ayame, but he ultimately turns to go without a word.
Ryu.
Having only gone a few feet, Ryu stops and turns back to Ayame, who is still crouched on the floor.
Kenji was an introvert. His favorite subject was English, and he truly loved video games, especially SAO.
Kenji sits next to Ayame and smiles sweetly at her. A smile appears on Ryu's face.
Thank you, Ayame.
With that, Ryu turns and carries Katsumi towards the street. She rests her head on his chest and closes her eyes. Her whole body shakes uncontrollably.
I'm taking you to the ER.
No. Please. I just want to stay with you.
Holding her closely, Ryu continues walking down the sidewalk towards the hospital.
It's okay, kid. I'll stay right by your side. Always.
I need you to come
course. You're my best friend.
Best friends for life.
With her strength now completely gone, Katsumi nods off into unconsciousness. Seeing the hospital ahead, Ryu quickens his pace.
I almost lost Kat. Again. And yet, somehow, her and I, we've made it through so much already. Together, we can face anything.